Before you decide what happened to Nolan Wells, let me ask you one question. How do you know? Not what you heard, not what went viral, and definitely not what your favorite creator told you. How do you know? Because too many people like to start with a conclusion and then spend the rest of their time searching for evidence that supports it. That's not an investigation, that's confirmation bias. And as the Furqānic detective, I do things a little differently. Never make God number two, and before we investigate, we separate. Today, we're not here to defend a narrative. We're here to examine the evidence, separate confirmed facts from allegations and speculation, and determine what the evidence actually authorizes us to conclude. So let's open the case file. Everybody wants justice. But the question is, how do you get to justice? Do you get there by picking a side first? By following your emotions? By following your race? Or do you get there by following the evidence? As the Furqānic detective, I have one rule before every investigation. Before we investigate, we separate. Because confusion, it loves to mix everything together. The truth, it requires us to separate it. So let's separate. First, let's separate the facts from allegations. And the confirmed facts are that Nolan Wells disappeared, his body was later found, and the investigation is still ongoing. The official forensic process hasn't publicly answered every major question yet, so we're waiting. Then we separate allegations from speculation. Because there are conflicting witness accounts, there's questions about the timeline, there's even concerns about phone data, videos, and statements. All of which are legitimate subjects for investigation. But investigation isn't the same thing as a conclusion. Then we separate the evidence from interpretation. People see one video and immediately say, that proves murder. Someone hears about a deleted message and says, that proves a cover-up. Other people hear the FBI assisted and that proves it was a hate crime. No. Evidence doesn't speak by itself. It has to be authenticated and placed into the proper timeline. Then we separate the cause from motive. Because even if someone eventually proves Nolan didn't drown, that still wouldn't automatically tell us why. And even if someone eventually proves a crime occurred, that still doesn't automatically establish a racial motive. Every step requires its own evidence. Now we about to separate the individual from the collective, because this is where many people's investigation falls apart. An individual tragedy becomes a collective conclusion before the investigation is finished. And that's why I'm asking, where's the evidence? Not where's the outrage, nor the pressure, or the narrative. What are the receipts? Because if evidence eventually proves homicide, I'll accept homicide. If it proves it was an accident, I'll accept it was an accident. And if it proves a racial motive was involved, I'll accept the racial motive. But I refuse to let my conclusion outrun the evidence and the investigation. You see, some people think waiting for evidence means you don't care. I think the opposite. Waiting for evidence is actually one of the highest forms of respect you can give the truth. Because Nolan Wells, yeah, he deserves more than a bunch of internet theories. His family deserves more than assumptions. And as for the rest of us, the public, we deserve more than viral speculation. They deserve an investigation that follows the evidence wherever it goes. And right now, the Nolan Wells investigation is still unfolding. That means there's questions we can ask, evidence we can examine, and claims we can test out. But there's also conclusions that the evidence hasn't earned yet. Justice doesn't have to rush. Justice just needs to be accurate. So if new evidence changes the case, then the case should change. Stronger evidence pops up, we reopen the investigation. That's not a weakness on my part, that's intellectual honesty. Because my loyalty isn't to a narrative, a tribe, or a headline. It's to the truth. I'm not interested in being correct. I'm only interested in what can be proven. I'm the Furqānic Detective. I don't investigate people. I investigate claims. Never make God number two, and before we investigate, we separate. Then we separate, investigate, weigh the evidence, then we conclude. And if stronger evidence shows up, we reopen the case. Because my goal was never to defend a narrative. It was only to discover the truth. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.